Hi guys, once again we are visiting the debate on Brexit. Now on Wednesday at 9 o'clock on Channel 4, Boris and Dave go head to head and we actually get to take a good look at the EU referendum and begin to make some sense of it in between the mudslinging and the name calling. But one question today and one question alone: where have all the immigrants gone? We find out next. It wasn't long ago that we saw news reports of immigrants sleeping in Hyde Park being made fearful of the numbers coming into Britain. Every day the talk of the town was that how much of a strain they are on our resources. I think immigration could be a good thing. Some of the best countries were built on the back of immigration, Australia and America being two of the most famous. Now, whether it was forced upon the natives or not, they are two countries that have benefited from it and have progressed rather well. I said this in a previous video and I still stand by it. But of course, it is how the matter is fed down to us and how we are encouraged to perceive it. David Cameron used to say time and time again that he is going to sort out immigration. That was one of the things he declared on many of his election speeches. But as again I pointed out in a previous video, he can't do nothing. Part of the EU agreement, as we all should know, is that any member of an EU member country can pass on in. So with all this going on previously, where has it all gone? First, I think you have to consider David Cameron's standing on the EU. He obviously wants to stay in. There is no question about that whatsoever. He has even used the onset of a Third World War. So any negative outlooks on immigration would surely damage his case. Now, I don't really read newspapers. If I do, I choose to look online because I choose the content. But as far as I'm aware, I haven't even seen much coverage of immigrants in print. Media blackout, some are calling it. But there is much work going on in Calais and Paris. For one, I feel sorry for the lorry drivers and certainly the border control. Why do I feel like that? And why do I, as with any, feel that there is a media blackout so as not to damage the case for staying in the EU? Well, it's events like this that could cause harm. And the fact that we really are not being made aware of this, firing tear gas into a crowd is never going to do anyone any good. These people are just trying to make a better life for themselves. Anyone would do the same. I know I would for my kids. Slightly scary, isn't it? This is what is happening now, and we are members of the EU. If we opted out, we could and would have tighter control on the borders. Sure, we could still let them in. Anyone deserves a better life for themselves and their children. But if we could regulate it, bring in hard workers, not non-workers. Now, as with British people, you always get some that just don't want to work. But firing tear gas into a crowd that is just trying to make a better life for themselves seem harsh. I know, and I guess you could be right. However, the security forces are not just the demons. This particular video would suggest this. Tents burn easily, obviously, and this is what this immigrant camp did when French officials offered and promised them more substantial and safer accommodation. Members of this particular camp, and I'm not saying they're all the same, burnt everything to the ground, allegedly stating that if they were to take the offer from the French, it would lower the chances of entry into Britain. This is being kept out of the spotlight, and I feel there is only one purpose for that. Things seem to be spiralling out of control. The obsession with the EU campaign now seems to be almost like an obsession with David Cameron. And the fact that he is giving the impression that we will ultimately do as we're told. As always, we are simply not being told the truth. Conservative corruption investigations, tax havens popping up from every direction, MPs voting against benefits being given to the disabled, and the events that I have shown being kept out of mainstream view. It all does look a bit ugly, and also rather scary that someone with that kind of mindset is running our country. The Icelandic public protested against their PM over the Panama Papers. He eventually stepped down, so the public do ultimately have a say on how their country evolves. David Cameron has so far done a lot worse. Now, I have started an online petition to force David Cameron out. Now, I am just a small voice in a very, very large crowd, but together we can become a much larger echo. Many of us point out the truth, many of us complain about the truth, but do we ultimately try and make ourselves heard? That's all I am trying to do, and my online petition proves that. David Cameron has to step down. Will you make yourself actually heard? Will you sign the petition? Now, there is no need to congregate together in a disorganised way. The government is clever at hiding the truth, as we now realise. We just have to play them at their own game. Make a difference, make a mark. If you agree, click the thumbs up, click subscribe and don't miss an episode. And as always, thanks for watching and don't forget to sign. Bye bye for now.